What's up, US History? As promised, I'm trying to incorporate more music and pop culture stuff into kind of the lessons in the era that we're covering right now. Like I've said, the 1960s and on through kind of into the 1970s are a wild and crazy time in terms of the Cold War, in terms of the Civil Rights Movement, and in terms of just pop culture. You see a big shakeup, and a lot of people would refer to this time period as like the golden age of American music. And I think I tend to agree with that assessment. So today, what you're going to hit is I would hope most of you have heard of Motown before. Motown is slang for the Motor City. Like Motown, Detroit is the Motor City. And Motown was a record label that was based in Detroit. And there were all kinds of epically big artists with this new style of kind of rock and roll and pop mixed together that were releasing albums and a lot of big, really cool hits during this time period. So kind of think through the 60s on into the 70s is like the Motown era. Now, when you look at the names of some of these artists, I'm guessing most of you will be like, never heard of that guy or this lady or this group. The one you might be familiar with would be the Jackson 5. That's at least what most students would have heard of before, because Michael Jackson, who is the youngest of those brothers and is adorably cute and an awesome singer in the videos you'll see that I'm posting here, goes on to be the king of pop. So we've covered the father of rock and roll, who is Chuck Berry, the king of rock and roll, which is Elvis Presley, and then the king of pop, who is, we haven't hit yet, but that's Michael Jackson, and he really kind of peaks and has his heyday in like the 1980s, which, we're kind of have that in store still and haven't quite got to it. Anyway, he gets his start with Motown music in the 1960s. But then a lot of the other artists on here that you maybe haven't heard of before, my guess is once you actually go and click on them and listen to at least a portion of each one of these songs, or if you're digging it, listen to the whole thing, you've probably heard of a lot of these songs before, because Motown makes a huge impact on just American culture in general, and a kind of a lasting impact. And they kind of reshape, I think, music in a lot of ways. Also, another really cool thing about Motown, well, obviously, that's one of the only record labels that's super notable that I could talk about that is based out of our home state here in Michigan. Okay. So kind of a closer connection for us as residents of Michigan. But also, I think they did a tremendous amount to kind of mainstream Black artists and Black music and package it in such a way that it was really acceptable and cool and loved by Americans of all colors. So in a lot of ways, I think Motown helped kind of mainstream a lot of Black music where Chuck Berry, maybe back in the 50s, had a hard time selling albums to white audiences. I don't think that was the case so much for Motown. They were hugely popular with lots of white audiences and Black audiences alike. So anyway, I hope you enjoy some of this music, giving you a little history behind it, and kick back, check out each one of the posts. And I did throw quite a few of them on here, but hopefully you'll think it's worth your while. Most of the songs are pretty short, and there's some classics, some really good music, and know too that that's not like the entirety of all of the Motown labels. There's actually many, many more artists and groups that did a lot of other good songs too. So if you're really liking it, the sampling of songs that I have attached here, I'd encourage you to go dig into it a little bit more, go look into Motown, go down that rabbit hole and find some other really classic good music that might be right up your alley. Okay, kick back and enjoy.